I'm going to read this because I can ramble, so pardon me. My name is John Reese. I am a recovering architect, a professor by passion, and now an innkeeper by design. The store is my first built project in Raleigh. It's a former neighborhood grocery in the middle of the historic Glenwood, Brooklyn neighborhood that I reincarnated as my residence 25 years ago, and about 8 years ago opened it up as a private guest house to be a well-designed respite for overnight accommodations and inspiring conversations. You can check the website at welcometothestore.com and on Instagram at welcometothestore. Please, dear God, follow us. Apparently, I don't know why you should, but my media person tells me you should. When Matt Griffith first announced that he was taking on this daunting task of creating Real Matter, I was highly impressed, very intrigued, but doubtful it would succeed. Like many of us old school curmudgeons, I'd become cynical about the future of the profession and had come to believe that we as architects were not really thought leaders, but we were just a bunch of lemmings looking for the next job. To my delight and surprise, I was blown away by the incredible roster of lecturers he attracted, and I teared up when I saw him restore critical thinking to his student workshops. So last year, I reached out to Matt and Zach and asked if the store could be the official guest house for its visiting lecturers. It was a selfish move on my part, and the investment has been worth it. I've had the unique and fortunate opportunity to informally meet these brilliant designers one-on-one, learn more about their lives, delve into their thinking process, and question their approach. Each conversation has reinvigorated my passion for design and quelled my cynicism about the future of architecture. Real Matter has given me hope that the profession of my passion has not yet completely lost its way, dumbed down its mind, or forgot its mission. I want to extol my undying gratitude and hearty accolades to Matt Griffith and Zach Hoffman for conceiving, nurturing, and promoting this annual meeting of the minds. They have single-handedly engineered a world-class, thought-provoking program of architectural education and simultaneously promoted the need for better design right here in Raleigh. No other institution, not AIA, not even NC State, has had a greater effect on promoting the value of architecture to the general public. I'm humbled by their creativity, passion, fortitude, and energy. These guys are our true thought leaders, and they are leading by design. Real Matter matters, and I'm so very proud the store is a contributing sponsor. I want to see if you'll just join me right now, and I want to give them a standing ovation for everything they've done. Thank you, Matt. And we all mean that. And with that, let me introduce you to the final lecturer of this series, Sebastián Adamo. Adamo-faiden is an architecture studio established in Buenos Aires in 2005 by Sebastián Adamo and Marcelo Faiden. Their practice extends to the fields of teaching and research and has been internationally recognized by various media and institutions. While Sebastián's curricula vitae and his firm's portfolio of work are both extensive and impressive, the firm's website is merely a curated collection of project images that allow the work to speak for itself. No wordy descriptions, just visual moments that exude the Vitruvian principles of firmitas, veritas, and venustras. And for those of you who don't know, firmness, commodity, and delight. Their work has been displayed in such renowned exhibitions as the Sao Paulo Architecture Biennale, the Guggenheim Museum in New York, the Venice Architecture Biennale, the Chicago Architectural Biennale, and the Liga Architecture Gallery in Mexico, and also Principal University School of Architecture, to only name a few. In addition to their work, it appears in several monograph publications, including A+U 2024 number 10, Revista 2G numbers 64 and 95, International Architecture, and of course a monogram book, Adamo-faiden. Here's a brief poetic peek into the minds Sebastián and his partner Marcelo. The contemporary constructor walks down the hallway of a hotel. Countless rooms pass him. In one, a person can be found writing an atheist book. In the following, someone on their knees begging for faith and strength. In a third, a chemist investigating a body's properties. In a fourth, the envisioning of an idealistic metaphysical. And in a fifth, the demonstration of the impossibility of metaphysics. All share the same hallway. The contemporary constructor must pass through it as if he wishes to have a feasible way of entering his own room. Please welcome adamo-faiden. Excuse me. Please welcome Adamo. I mixed up the name. Please welcome. Please welcome Sebastián Adamo.
Thank you, Sean. Oh, let's see this. Good. Thank you for the beautiful presentation. Yeah, I was. It's been a while since I didn't listen that part of the contemporary constructor. And thank you, Sam and Zach. It's a real pleasure to be here, and to all of you to be here in the lecture. This lecture is happening at the same time our office celebrates its 20 years of life, and with the years, unfailingly, one becomes more reflexive or like level-headed in some way. Maybe that's why this presentation may result more introspective than expansive in some way. The presentation has two parts. In the first part, I'm going to make a review of these years of practice, but it's not a linear or strictly chronological journey, nor a summation of experiences or facts works. It's rather a sequence of concepts or explorations that can help me describe our point of view. Later I'm going to explain this cryptic title. And I'm talking about the development of a point of view, not as a singular or a totalizing goal to acquire. Therefore, I think that could be ending into a domestic trap if we do that. But instead, I'm rather talking about the development of a point of view. The point of view as a tool that stimulates the conception of a consistent architecture, and therefore critical, of course, and an architecture committed to the world that we wish to inhabit. In every project we design, we aim to discuss this world, how we position ourselves in relation to this world, which is our contribution from architecture to society, culture, ecology, and the city, of course. Which actions that migrate horizontally from one project to another, producing small or large changes depending on how you look at them. Testing those speculations, processes, techniques, and effects that I mentioned in the title of the lecture, and which I'm going to show you through all the speech. The projects, in addition to fulfilling the subject for which they were conceived, then go through this journey, but they do so with a certain skepticism. And this is because we are aware that our positions used to be unstable and contingent, which result in positions that are adogmatic and therefore evolutive. And that's why I love the presentation, because that part of the contemporary constructor speaks about that, about an individual that wants to be in the world with a critical eye, but in his journey, he has to deal with all those rooms full of people that are not connecting themselves. And ourselves as architects, we should manage that as what I call here this skepticism, but at the same way, a creative way of introducing the unstable and the contingent into our practice. I'm talking about an evolution that is not closely tied to progress or perfection, but rather a more experimental or exploratory evolution. As this evolutionary process embraces that instability that I mentioned earlier, because it understands that instability is the material of our time. We live in a world that, first and foremost, is unstable by definition. Of course, navigating the world as architects is quite complex, and even more so if we choose the arduous path that implies the idea of being consistent, not only in what we say and teach in our workshops, but also ensuring that consistency is reflected in our designs and our works, without any translations. But it was this steep path that invited us to think of another model of architect, an architect that has the ability to detect the opportunities in problems or stimulations in the ordinary, an architect who knows how to manage the tensions that our discipline presents when trying to be both a professional service and at the same time a tool for cultural expression. A small pavilion like this on a typical terrace in the city of Buenos Aires can be a space for someone to develop its life and at the same time a device that allows us to project an idea of architecture that stimulates the emergence of a new individual, a kind of alter ego of the conventional inhabitant. Or on a bull shed like this one, a piece of rural infrastructure can become the vacation retreat of an artist, and at the same time, it can be a playful redescription of the passage of time and the relationship between history and our present. Operating in known ideal fields, such as inherited structures, whose formal or technical affiliations do not always present themselves as something stimulating to be addressed, but they do provide us with an energy that we can use and redescribe. Operating in this realm not only involves a technical risk, as we can see here in the Lure house, where we completely emptied the basement, the foundation of a 100-old house, in order to make that house more accessible to the back, to the grass and the green and the nature. But also another significant risk, which is that the conversation we imagine between different lives of a house may not take place. Or the challenge of designing a building for inhabitants with different habits from those of the people and which we don't know perfectly. As I mentioned earlier, problems that translate into opportunities to explore with an architecture that, through its specificity, manages the project a way of seeing the world. From our first projects, we had very strong interest in construction. Along with drawing and dialect, construction is a tool that architects should control very precisely. From my point of view, it is unfeasible not only to conceive a project, but also to engage in project criticism if we do not have in our knowledge backpack a significant amount of information that allow us to understand the indissociability of the intellectual and the material worlds in our discipline. A practicing architect must know how to build. But I am not referring to the knowledge we must have to ensure that a work meets the necessary requirements to avoid problems during its youthful life. I am referring to the mastery of construction techniques in order to achieve a translation without distortions between our desires and the built reality. But I want to make a little pause on the word mastery, or on that analogy with the knowledge backpack. So it's not interpreted in in a passive way or as a mere exercise in the accumulation of knowledge. That backpack I'm talking about, for me, the most important design project an architect should undertake, and of course it is from the start an open design with no completion date, choosing which books, which buildings, which architects surround us in an exercise we must carry out with a deliberately projected consciousness. That is why I understand that the mastery I was referring to is a mastery that aligns more in the sense of empowerment rather than the term provides, rather than to the idea of having some control over something. In summary, I am more interested in the expansive power of knowledge than in the restrictive power of wisdom. And I say expansive also because of the many exploratory opportunities that our discipline offered to us. For example, the opportunity to build not only with the materials we all know, but also with the climate, with the nature, with light, with color, with experience, or with time. Like you can see in this house I'm gonna show later. And I think that holistic approach is what makes me think that our discipline is an amazing one. And it is in its full dimension, as I mentioned, that it is specifically built alongside the context in which the work is inserted. For instance, like in this small house, our first project in the left, a tree, the location of this tree can be the starting point to determine a cosmos of relationship that define how the parts of the projects are being positioned. Relationships that can grow and become more complex or simpler depending on how you look at them. And the fascinating thing about our discipline also lies in its playful nature. I am convinced that the design exploration is much more interesting when we approach it with optimism. This doesn't mean that we must force fun or jocular processes. I'm referring to the research that each project can inaugurate. It's something that scientists, at least the good ones, are very clear about. Research should be driven by the mere interest of producing knowledge. For example, these plans, which aim to redescribe in one case, like in the left, a classical typology of architecture, such as a Roman central courtyard houses, or in the other case, in the right, to redescribe the rural land organization of parcels separated by streets and fences. In neither of these cases, the explorations arises from a specific demand or external need. Perhaps this arises from the need to create a balance with that cultural environment to which we owe all the information we carry in our backpacks, as I mentioned before. Or these other plans, which find in a formal organization of rectangular rings an opportunity to establish a specific dialogue between architecture and the surrounding nature. Or here, again, a series of existing trees initiating a conversation that in these cases required the use of alternative geometrical lexicon. I think it's quite clear when I talk in the title of the lecture about speculations, processes, and techniques. I think that you can see in all the images and drawings how these speculations become a process of design, and after that, with techniques, we get to the results that we can show today. At least these are concepts that have been recurring in the academy environment, and I find it may be redundant to explain that what I mean. But I do want to be specific with what I mean when I talk about effects, as this is not such a common concept in our field, and I think it's very important to elaborate on it. Of course, I will rely, as I have been doing so far, on these images, which in many occasions, like this one, are more eloquent than the words themselves. The images in these final sections are all photographs we took years after our works were occupied and inhabited. Scenes that reflect the erosion of living itself and the passage of time. An architecture that was deliberately designed up to a certain point, leaving space for those who inhabit to project their own singularity over our own projects. An architecture that demands an active interlocutor with a good disposition for these exercises. Spaces that can be completed with other designs, or even with the collection of objects that pass through a different generation of a family. Joy and frustrations ultimately are learnings that we experience when we encountering these spaces inhabited by their users, and that we decided to make part of what we understand as architecture. An architecture that grows by learning from successes and mistakes, but more than anything, it feeds on those surprises that this sporadic encounter provides us. Materialize interpretations as broad as they are diverse, like for example here in the Blas house. It was a house that became an atelier afterwards due to the family decision to move to another city. And by becoming an atelier, it redefines its role in the city. And the passage of time is also very necessary when materials have a life, when that unwritten contract between the user and the architecture is cohesively articulated and both actors manage to assume their commitment and responsibilities in these domestic scenes. A collection of effects that invite us to imagine new ways of living, a way of living that does not collide with the collective demands of the world, that is generous to both its own and the others, and that can offer us a redefinition of the urban life. These diptychs I've been showing in the first half of the presentation were extracted from Inventory. Inventory is this book. It's a book we published 2 years ago with Actar Editors, and it's available for you if you want to buy it in Amazon. And whose cover holds the index of all the projects presented in the book, which is not a typical index. I don't know if you can read it from there, but you can see that the projects are the names, like the CEOs or wishes, or I can't read from here. But then you see some little numbers, and the numbers shows the pages that the projects are being published. So it's a kind of different organization, and where the user, the reader, can decide how to move through the book. And our first approach to the relationship of the images and documents is what you saw before. So I would be very happy if you, not only if you buy the book, but also if you build your own criteria, appropriation of the book, building those relationships in another way. And that's how we imagine architecture. We imagine an architecture that is, in some way, you can see in a first approach that is quite radical, like quite singular, very neat, but that clarity or that singularity or that clean aspect is because we imagine that in the second step, the lives take the lead and start to erosion all those places in that way. So now I'm going to show you the second part of the lecture, which is a selection of a few projects we are doing. Some of them are recently built and finished, and some of them are still under construction. This is a radical intervention in the agricultural landscape of Mendoza, Argentina, which is a province which is like 2 hours away from Buenos Aires. Is the places for the winemakers, okay? And of course, this is a winery. And it is a manipulation that is more related to the infrastructural knowledge or history, rather to the architectural winery's tradition. The winery is this type of stepped section that is not only because there was a need of making the wine without pumps or using less pumps and using the physical mountain to move the wine through the section. Also because we wanted to experience this landscape organization as a way of exploring these beautiful views that we have of the Andes on the other side. So inside the winery, as a typical technological building or production building, you have to live with very specific needs, but also these buildings are crossed by experience of the people that visit, are the visitors, and that they want to see how you produce wine, but also to taste it, and then to get drunk, of course. and so we try to manage a space that is very continuous in some way, and you can see the production areas from everywhere, but at the end is very well defined in all the parts. And the decision of using like a single material as concrete, this is a very unstable part of the country, which is because of the earthquakes. So concrete was going to be massive. So we use that material as a very singular or unique material, and then we combine that with the stainless steel that is typical for the production of the wine. We had to serve the problem that the producer had to start producing the wine. Meanwhile, we were doing the construction, so we had 2 harvests through the process. And this is among the second harvest, which we were still working, and they are producing the wine inside, which is quite crazy because the wine industry is like a full laboratory, and the construction is not. So this is the way that, like a few weeks ago, we are now moving some earth in order to see that the relationship of the landscape. And the last picture of the project is maybe the most important to show how infinite we are in that beautiful landscape, and the idea that the winery is slow, is very, like as I said before, very radical, very singular, but at the same time it's like a slow in a slow motion as we interpret that landscape. And that way of posing radical objects or radical interventions is the same as we did in this project of the Pampas landscape. The Pampas is our landscape in Argentina is like, as you can see here, it's like we have like 2,000 kilometers of plain surface up to the Andes. It's like, maybe you remember that drawing from Le Corbusier that he did Buenos Aires with a port, the port with a small and the line, and then the Andes at the end, and on the other side is Chile. And yeah, and so we have to manage that indifference in some way with the landscape. Our landscape is super plain, and the geography, it has very little accidents. So in some way, we have to invent the landscape and to manipulate it to have those accidents that we need to design. In this case, some trees, natives or planted by ourselves. And of course, water. Again, naturally driven by nature or specifically designed by the hand of the man. These radically artificial environments, I think that require radical answers in some way. In this case, a big plot for a small house, and the position of the house. No, in the middle of the plot is dividing the plot in the east and west with 2 different experiences, and the house becoming a very, very linear organization, That is, again, a radical organization that you have a double corridor, and in the middle, all the spaces. It's a house for a single man. We call it midway house because it's a house designed for the midlife, like living half in the city, half in this house. It's an hour and a half from the city, Buenos Aires. So the house is a collection of spaces that have different sizes, all the same relationship to the borders, but different sizes. And in the edges you have both rooms, the private and the invited, with the areas of bathrooms, etc. And in the middle, space for TV, a space for the social life, and a space for working, etc. And this organization is covered by a singular and dynamic 4-layer envelope that interacts with the passage of time. That is something that is very important for us. With the movement of the sun and the wind, with the requirements of the inhabitants of the house, and its mood and willings to relate with the exterior. You can have in the layer, you have from interior to the exterior, first layer of curtain, then the glassing, then you have the mosquito fence and the solar control. So you can move those, and on both sides are the same. So depending your mood, depending what you want to do, depending your activity or the day of the day or whatever you want, you can move those layers and interact with the house and become a designer of your own climate and your own experience. So the idea of having of erasing the idea of a window and working with a mechanism that you can lead and you can interact with to make different experience. So if you wish, the house becomes only a shadow, only a place that you can go through and you can connect both sides of the garden. It's like a machine designed to explore the relationship between the individual and nature. And this idea of machines designed to experience the world is what led us to design this small pavilion for the Tel Aviv University, where we both teach, and Marcelo, my partner, is the dean. And we designed this large, extensive structure that defines the limit of the school with the street, but also invites to activate some possible relationships of the private institution with the neighborhood, expanding all the collective life of the university also to the interior terrace, with a very simple system that managed not only the public links but also the movement of air through the different climates during the year. It's a kind of winter garden where you can open the upper part of the windows there. You can see in summer you can move the shades. You have the shades there, and it becomes like an open air pavilion that air moves through. So you have a shade, and people is there, like in this scene that you can see there. Or in winter, you can close all the windows, and it becomes like a oven. Okay, very necessary oven. As you can see, this is a typical winter. You can see the trees on the left. Everything is closed. People are with the coat, and they also use the place. And these devices can also jump from a public space or the public sphere, as I showed before, to a private domestic scene over an existing building like this, extending the use of this terrace for the full year, and introducing a new roof, a transparent coat that also interacts with the city and the sky. And this manipulation of the air and this idea that there are not only two climates, that is the exterior one and the interior. The exterior is what we get, and it's okay. That's what's there, okay. And the interior is what we want, no, the air conditioner. I think that passive way of understanding that we are not part of that environment and we only build this one is what will lead us to have the world climate problem that we have nowadays. So what we imagine with these intermediate spaces is that we can design a different type of comfort for some places of our architecture. I'm not being like too dogmatic, like saying, okay, this is the answer, but at least we want to establish that the conversation and the discussion should be addressed by architects, and these projects try to make a dialogue or are in a dialogue with some other practices that are working on this. In this stretch project, we work in a very narrow passage where this is a veterinary, a small veterinary in the downtown, and we build this public space. It's a social space where dogs, cats, not cats, sorry, dogs, because they have a problem that not solved yet with the dogs. So dogs and their owners get inside this space. This space managed is there goes through it. Okay, it's like semi-covered space, and it's also the strategy to work with an existing structure that lead us with an internal structural system that let us introduce an open air to have this new second life to that existing house. This veterinary is also a typical building in our city. Buenos Aires is the city with more pets per inhabitant of the world. and that is, I think, is very connected to new ways of domesticity, or new ways of new families in some way, and the tradition of going to the veterinary in the day-to-day life is like very problematic for the dogs, also problematic for the owners. Okay, so we try to introduce the experience of a new experience for the dogs. So we work very closely with the doctor, with the veterinary doctor, to know what the dog feels when he goes to a veterinary. The first of all is the memory. Okay, maybe if you have a pet and you go to the veterinary and you go walking very nicely, when it's half a walk for the veterinary, it starts to get nervous because it's the memory. So that's something important. And here to work with pets was something that we had to learn a lot from the doctor. So the project started from not only from the front that I showed before, also on the backyard. We have a very nice courtyard full of plants that are where the dogs want to be. So when this passage that organizes the middle of the project is the link between the public street with the interior where the dogs want to be. So that interior and the plants and the type of floor we used was something that we got introduced by the veterinary doctor, to design in a specific way where the pets were the most important thing for us. This is the passage, and you can see that the soil, the floor is like a plaza or a courtyard floor, and it's also full of plants, so the dog can smell and they can feel more comfortable, and they can forget the experience that is inside the boxes. That is something that they need to have. But yeah, these places that have no, I mean, they have no title. You know, this is not a lobby. This is not a waiting room. This is not a passage. I think it's all the same at the same time, or maybe it's something new that we don't want to take care of about that. We prefer that the experience of the individual is what in title and what defines these places. And we think that when we see that, for instance, now we see that the owner put some things inside, and we are very happy with that. We're very happy with that positioning of the designers, leaving things to others to be completed. And Also, it's something that we work with a dialogue with the owners. We work in the process with the people who are going to inhabit, because we define like some play rules. You know, when you have games that you can have some fun, but if the rules are clear, then you can move forward. Okay, so these spaces we define some rules. Like, okay, we are going to have plants. We need some humidity. We need the air to go through. Okay, and then let's move forward. And the same happens with the domestic life, where we design this central space that is in space that also is an air manipulation. It's in a space that is pretty much bigger than a corridor, but it works as a corridor. It is like in the mood of a patio, of a courtyard, but it's not a courtyard because it's semi-covered. It's not a winter garden because it's not full of windows, but you have windows to manage the air. So it's all the same at the same time. And the relation with history was talking at the beginning about this house, about a typical organization of the courtyard house with the patio in the middle and the pavilions surround, was the starting point for this project, where we have these 4 pavilions. That one is, I don't know, how can I put? Oh yeah, here. This is this is a house for a single pair. That this is like the master bedroom and the studio for them. Then you have this pavilion is like the living room, but for social life, etc. And here you have the service area with the kitchen and private dining room, and the room for the service. Okay, and this place in the middle becomes the connection between all the places, like a typical Roman house. But instead of having a place that is open air and you could freeze in winter, or you can get too hot in summer, it's like a middle air, as I mentioned before, with a semi-covered space. All the techniques that we design for the construction are in steel, reinforcing the idea that the interior of the house and the design of the structure is going to be connected to the enclosure of the house, and it's going to be the same in the interior as the exterior, reinforcing the idea that you are living connected completely to nature. So you can see the details on the outside are the same of like in the inside. And you can see that the pavilion in the middle is like appearing in the second layer as the other. And you can see that the technology we use to cover the interior of the house is the same as the other one. It's a very simple technology. And then the winter garden, the inner space, is like has a machinery to protect from the exterior air, to introduce the air inside, to protect from the sun, etc. And sometimes these techniques that in this case are like very handcrafted, like people like putting bolts with some steel sheets, etc., can become a laboratory for new explorations that then we try to move to another scale, and we work with other techniques. Like in this building that we designed this quite particular curtain wall with an enterprise that they do curtain walls, and we bring some of the explorations we did in the singular house that we saw before, but we get it to and we work it in the house with some very like normal techniques, with very, I don't know how to say it in English. It's like poor techniques or handcrafted, okay? And we move it to the patent world, to the world of things that are certified, that are that have some manuals, that have some, of course, are secure, and they can manage the idea of building this high-rise tower. But we don't do that passively, like in a passive way. Okay, we do that still with a creative notion, with the idea that that curtain wall can be like an open air curtain wall, a curtain wall that by moment you have the typical window or glass, fixed glass, but also a curtain wall that can be emptied by parts and that can be explored in another way, in a way that the curtain wall becomes a permeable wall, introducing some domestic scenes in the high rise that maybe we couldn't imagine before in this type of enclosures, like gardens, like the barbecue, that for our latitude is a religion to have a barbecue in the domestic life. So these details started to work in ourselves as an idea to explore another way of domesticity. A domesticity that is linked to that technology, to the rigorous technology of building a high-rise, okay, of building systematically, but with erosion that needs every house to be connected with the exterior parts. So you can see that the plans that you see of the tower are on the out layer are all regular, are all like rectangular, okay, and that's the maximum optimization of the code of our city. But then on the second layer, you can see that the glassing interacts in a way that is quite organic. I'm going to show you there. So this is a kind of hybrid situation about building a super speculative tower full rectangle, but on the interior you can have an experience that is more connected to the domestic life or the needs of the domestic life. Becoming with these interiors that you have in the different typologies, when you have like private gardens, well, the barbecue, parrilla, we call it, that I said before. You have some stairs in the duplexes when we use that typology to improve the relationship with this type of terraces that also where we could manage. An idea that you can live in a tower that is, again, a tower that could be explored as a domestic life, and the idea to bring green areas, nature again to the city, which is something that is important, very important. I was talking with Zach before in the morning because we have in Buenos Aires we had a movement of the people to the suburban areas, like because the city became like too dense, too like. It's like an abuse of traffic and no green areas, etc. So the idea of, from our small position as architects, becoming the city again necessary and interesting and desired by the public is something that is we want to interact with. So the tower this is how it looks from the street. Of course, it's full of gardens, and you can see that some part of the tower, the curtain wall doesn't even exist, and it's like an open air enclosure. This tower is gonna be finished. 24 is not. Sorry for that. It's gonna be 25. And I'm going to show you the last project, which is maybe the biggest scale that we've done and is finishing on these days. This is the Huergo Tower, which is a tower that is in the midtown of the city. Is a place that is connected to the main like civic spaces of the city of Buenos Aires. And the typical solution for towers are objects. We see that the towers nowadays on the world is like an object solution, and the objects sometimes they do, but they don't used to interact with the history of the city, with the surroundings, with the neighborhood. And we decided to do the opposite, to establish a tower that interacts with the neighborhood, that its physiognomy and its displacement on the form, as you can see, are connected to the surroundings. For instance, this small movement here on the 6th floor is connected to the proximity of the front of the street, that the neighborhood is quite low. It's about 6 floors. So we do that first displacement. The second displacement here, this is the 38 meters, which is the height of the higher buildings that are between walls in the city. And in the front of the neighborhood, you can see that all the buildings that are not towers are on that, like they build like a massive height of the 38 meters. And the last one is connected to the future towers this one is the height of the neighbors' towers that you're gonna see in this picture. So the idea of a tower that is not a result of a singular design or a desire of a private desire of an architect, and is an interaction with the city, is something that at least we want to present to the world. And also the idea that the tower has a color, because Buenos Aires is 98% of the buildings, as you can see here, are mainly gray or light gray or dark gray or medium light gray or or warm gray. Some of them are brick, as you can see there, but those are historical buildings, you know, from 100 years ago. And the idea that the tower, instead of interacting with that tradition that we consider a little bit boring, we decided to interact with the parks, because this tower is the end of the public parks of the central part of the city. And I'm going to show you here, like I know I can't point with this. It's so okay. You can see there the green areas ends on the left with the main cultural center of the Argentina, that is the Centenario Cultural Center. In the middle you have the government, like the presidential house, with that plaza that starts the axis that ends in the Congress. And all these parks are very important because they have the military building, the customs building, the central bank building. So it's a very civic area, very important for the history of the place. And the owner, the developer of this tower, bought a plot that is on the end of those parks I showed before. So in some way, we thought that we had a responsibility to define a solution for that end of those civic park. But it couldn't be like a heroical solution, because at the end this is it's not a public building. But we decided to combine the client, and he was very, very proactive on the idea that the tower should have a public space on the ground floor, and that public space is here under construction. Okay, and instead of having that end of the parks with a fence and a private space, he said, okay, I like the idea of giving of some part of the space for the public, and that the people of the tower can interact in the ground floor. And the idea that the ground floor is not going to be closed, so we decided also to introduce two commercial spaces that can bring life to the ground floor. Maybe I explaining this in the States, that is, maybe it's not that necessary. When you go to New York, you see full of spaces that are public, and you can go through the lobbies, and you have a lot of shops, etc. But in Argentina, the towers, the tradition of towers is that they have fences and everything is private. So the public life you have on the street is awful, and that's why this was quite a move that we had to make. And of course, the idea of introducing this irregular path to the tower, we decided to end, instead of finishing this promenade that becomes from the public space with the tower. We decided to have a passage, as you can see here. That this is a typical solution of, well, you can see the passage there. Here, you can go through the tower, and you can go to the street again. You can go out, okay? And the lobby is on the right side, like in a secondary part. So I think this changes a lot of positions or ideas or the relevance of the lobby on the tower, the idea of the private space in the city, the idea of how we interact with the public and the private. And what you can see there, that you can see that the tower has those movements, as I explained before, that bring some conversation with the city, are not only a formal organization of the building, it's also how we experience to inhabit the building. You can see those places are painted in green. Do you see the green? Because it's very light in the social spaces here. Where we have an accident in the tower or a difference in the tower, we decided to establish a new space with a double height that interacts with the exterior. And instead of having the amenities of the area, the social spaces of the tower in the upper part and in the lower part, like in the lower part for services like laundry or machinery or I don't know, lockers, etc., and the upper part for the swimming pool and the day life, we decided to split that and atomize all that in the different heights of the building, using those spaces for the sociabilization. So we start in the lower part with the, how can I move this? Yeah, here. With the passage, as I said before, with this like that space for public and private mixing in the ground floor. Then on the 6th floor, that we have this terrace, we introduce all the sports like gym, yoga, etc., using this terrace to have some exterior life. Then under the cantilever, which is like a kind of celebration of the structure and is very singular in the building, we have the cultural space with a space for cinema and a library where people can go study or work or see a movie. Okay. Then on this part, that is the last terrace we have that is heading the city on the west. We use it for the typical day activities. We have a laundry, which was quite a crazy idea to have the laundry on the best views of the tower. And because we consider that the best, if you use the laundry like 3 times or 4 times a week, you should be in the best part of the building. Also, we have a collective kitchen in that upper part. And of course, in the last part, that is an opportunity to have open air, we have the swimming pool and some parrillas, barbecues again, with trees. So we designed this collection of spaces for sociabilization. The plan, because the general plan was that the apartments are for like entry-level apartments, very small, like more for young people, students, etc. The project has 507 units. So these social spaces are going to be part of the day life of all the people. And how to build a tower that has 507 units, and those units are going to be like quite different. How to deal with the commercial practice of architecture was something that was from the very beginning in our concerns. So we decided to build the tower more like a office building, that you have the structure and empty spaces. So we designed that structure on the perimeter and the core in the middle with that other wall that is for due to the wind reasons. And all in the middle, it can be changing all the time. So we have the repertoire of plans that changes within the scale, and the different units and the social spaces that I mentioned before. The building is quite neat, as you could see in other opportunities. We use a lot of the concrete and those walls with the concrete facade, expecting that the users also can define if they want to live the way that they want. Like this is one of the units that are now being occupied. I'm going to show you very quick some photographs of the process. That was quite a challenge for everyone here because of the conditions of the place, how we have to fund it, because the tower has a very challenged structure with the cantilever, but also because the soil was part of the river, so it's a very bad floor to. So we explore all these technical solutions. We designed everything through the construction process. We designed the molds also to hide all the joints that you have in this construction, that is always being pouring the concrete. So you have different joints. So we designed this like corrugated facade with those metal sheet molds. And we gave again to the construction some rules. Okay, you can stop here or here or here or here. And then they decided how to make the plan of concrete. That was something that concerned that a lot, because we think, again, as I said before, that the details of construction are part of the project and are very important. So then we finished that very, very, very proud of how the concrete was being done, because with those decisions that we made, with only one singular joint in the middle of the window and all that corrugated facade, we could interact with the difficulties of building the construction of this high-rise with the idea or the wishes that we have as a aesthetic of the project. And the project started to build. For you to know that scaffolding is about 13 floors. That scaffolding was even higher than the highest building we've done before, so imagine the tower. And that was a very epic moment when we removed the scaffolding from the cantilever and see that everything was okay, and we are not in shell, so here we are. Then the project, we also designed the window. The window is also an interaction between a typical window of Alcoa that we designed the interface, how do you say, the hub, the connection between the window and the concrete with a hidden joint in the border, and we adapt that design of the window to have 3 types of systems. That is, it works as a rail in the balcony. It's also fixed for those apartments that has other windows, and we want to lower a little bit the prices of the system. And of course, the opening that works very well for this type of high-rise that you have very windy environments. And as I said before, we decided to paint it green. It's a tainted solution, and also the tainted solution becomes a connection with the window, because we have very few colors of window that can solve the relationship with the needs of the climatization of the interior. And also this new painting has a slight bright and reflection, so it gets you a little bit confused, which again is part of one of our main concerns, that things are not always directly, and materials don't express directly themselves, because we think that we are again in this a world that is quite ambiguous in some way. So we like the idea that the tower is made of concrete, but it doesn't look as concrete. Sometimes it looks like more, if it confuses you, okay, it's a steel, or we don't know. These are some of the pictures of the final stage. We are, like in a few months, we are finishing the tower, and these are part of the amenities, interiors, with the connection with the terrace, and the upper terrace that is being with the landscape design. And yeah, and I think that these opportunities are not only opportunities that we take and we think how we relate with the object or the problem of doing this architecture in this specific place. We think, as I said before, that are part of a more ambitious responsibility that we have as architects of thinking again the city, rethinking the city, reescribing the way we inhabit the city, and becoming the city again necessary for the people that we think that is a solution for many, many reasons for the future of our world. And we want to end with this picture, which is part of our team in Buenos Aires. It needs to be updated, but I think again, as they are part of how we do things, of how we interact with all our ambitions, and without them it would be impossible to do it. So I want to thank you for this, and now I think we have some answers, no? Some questions.
Thank you, wow, that is loud. Thank you, Sebastian. We have some time for questions. I'm going to open that up and fix the gain on the microphone.
There's a lot of gain. Whoa. Yeah, thank you very, very much. One of the things that you touched on at the very end there was how unconventional some of the choices you made, especially in the 475 tower. How do you pitch a unconventional idea, especially if you're like, yeah, we don't do this in high rises in Buenos Aires? How do you pitch to the client or the public or people who might resist the idea when there's like this big creative spark and I knew we're going to do it this way?
Yeah, with a lot of work. And yeah, it's very simple, the answer. It's a lot of work. This project has, maybe this project is more eloquent because of the scale, but every project needs a lot of work to convince people if you want to do something different. Fortunately, the clients that are coming to us, they want something that is not the typical solution. But when you want to move the statu quo of things, like in this case, the modes of concrete or the structure or the color or everything, you need to work a lot to explain to people, a lot also to be sure that what you want to do. You have to explore the industry, to explore other solutions, to make new drawings, to make new. So our method is to we are quite like cabezas duras. How you say? Well, that sorry, stubborn. Okay. So we insist a lot, but through work, you know. Yeah, it's a very simple answer. Sorry.
Thank you. So as an architect that's just beginning to experience practice and kind of build my own backpack of things, I see a lot of rationality, repetitive, like structure in your work. How does it feel for you to like go beyond that
Mm.
in your work and do things that might not have this like structural and rational nature to them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that the repetition or rationalization is seen from a distance. You know, when you get into the inside each decision making, each solution of a detail of the relationship of how you deal with technology or something is quite different from one project to the other. So we don't have any problem in repetition. We love to, that's why I organized the lecture this way, that you go from one project to the other like very smooth way and connecting things. But there are some connections in the project and we love that to happen, but there are some other disconnected things. There are different budgets, different latitudes, different solutions, etc. And we think that one of the main problems of architects to be consistent is that sometimes you have your own need to invent the world every morning, you know, and I think that's quite a problem, and because it makes some anxiety in our profession, and it's something that if you see like medicine or even the people that do great inventions, they repeat methods and ideas once and once and once again until they purify that idea, and they, with that repetition, they move forward. We prefer that position of ourselves in that sphere of knowledge, rather than the one that thinks that architects are inventors that need to do things new every time. Yeah.
I so appreciated how you convinced your client to create this public space around the tower. Are you working in your mind on an idea now of something you would like to convince to create in your city?
In the city, sorry.
In Buenos Aires, yes.
But I didn't understand the answer, the question, sorry.
Do you have in your mind like opening up a public space that was so different? Is there something in the city that you would like to see, a big idea that you have about changing?
Yeah, well, one of the main ideas in this place that you can see there is the connection between the different, I don't want to say classes, but different aspect of our society. You know, we have a very segregated society in Argentina, mostly in Buenos Aires. And this is a product of the ABC1 level of the society. So the idea that these people can get mixed with people that can use the public space, we love that, and and I think that it's something that I imagine that could happen. So for that, we have to deal and negotiate with some things, because the thing that segregate those parts of the society is the security. You know, the people that needs to be secure, so they segregate. So we work to design a public space that feels secure for everyone that inhabit that place. So you have some few entrances, so people can feel secure. Also, I think that designing quality in the public space invites everyone to take care of that place. So that's why, I don't know, we don't have, this is too old, but it's going to be full of plants and trees, and it's going to be connected to a museum that is that the refurbishment of the neighbor there is going to be a connection there. That round plate there is a sculpture that is part of the development. We invited an artist to collaborate there. So we give quality to that space. When you see quality spaces in the city, you see that people start to take care of that. So the mixture of people is maybe something I'm willing to see in this space, and I think that the owners of the tower now will have to take care of that, because as architects we can take a path or design a path to something, but at the end they can manage this in the future, and you can see a lot of buildings and they change and they put more fences or more restrictions, etc. So let's see if it happens.
Sebastián, I think you do a phenomenal job in the ambiguity of the rigidity of your structure and the abstraction of the programs. You call a space to eat instead of a dining room, a space to cook instead of a kitchen. And I wonder if that's how you present the programs to the clients, or is that just an internal conversation in the office?
It's maybe I don't have like a singular response or answer to that questions. There are some clients that want to hear more about your way of thinking and how you interact with the building and how you see those spaces, and this is one of the cases. This is a big company. It's the biggest developer of Buenos Aires, so for me the client is not one person, it's like different people. And part of the company we talk about that, and we have that type of talks, of chats, of back and forth ideas, okay? And some other part of the company, we just call it the dining room and the gym and the laundry, and that's it. And I think that as architects, instead of making positions or being like too altruist, I don't know if you said it, like putting yourself over the people, instead of that, I prefer listening and see how the other interacts with the building, and what is their point of view of the building. You know, for instance, this is a good project to talk about that, because there are very different point of view of the project. We talk with the CFO of the company, and he here sees exposition problem, financial problems, budget, timing, etc. And we have to take that talk because we are the architects, and we need, okay, let's talk about budget, and we need to know that language and to interact with the language. And for other part of the company, this is a concept, a way of life, and we of course we know how to talk about that, but for other is the construction and the technical part. As architects, if you want to take part of, if you want to take control of what you do, I think you should learn all the languages that our buildings speak. And this is a good example because it's a big company, it's so complex and everything, you have plenty of people working on it, but are the same topics as when you build a house. You build a house because you have the constructor, you have the man that make the payments, so he want to have a program, budgets, etc. Then you have the family, and they want to hear what you think or not. So it's the same. It's the same. I think that this needs more professionalism and more team in some way. So we work with a lot of consultants and expertise people, but at the end it's pretty the same as doing a small house.
John, you still the last question.
Are you going to ask me how do I call?
I want to go back to that gentleman's first question about changing your rigor, and I want to ask you to talk more about that, because I think that is a mindset that young architects have. Correct me if I'm wrong, you focus on space, light, space, and material. Form is a byproduct of that. And where you consider why go around your foot to get your elbow on a structure when the space is what's important. Also, when in talking about this tower scenario, I've noticed that you've used every square inch of the allowable envelope that you could, which a developer would be very happy about.
Yeah, yeah.
You didn't use a lot of ins and outs and forms and pointy things and all kinds of stuff to kind of, and over-decorate it. You talk about the space allowing it to breathe and live on its own past the point. You become the framework. Can you talk more about that and,
Yeah.
and get that through everybody's head, how valuable that is?
Yeah, sure. Sure.
And then my second question. I'm not even going to go to the second question. Do that one. That one's more important.
I'll go with that. It's connected to the answer I did before, because we are not concerned about space. We are also concerned about efficiency. We're also concerned about doing a great business for the client. We are concerned about technology. We are concerned about the dialogue with other architects, and how we make a dialogue of, okay, what is our aporte, what we bring to the world, okay? What are how we talk with the discipline. We are also in dialogue with the city, the history of the city. This tower, for instance, is in dialogue with the modern tradition of Buenos Aires. We are also connected with the sustainability and with the green areas, with how plants live, how nature lives in the building. We're also connected to domesticity and the way of life of people. So it's not space. Space is part of it. The natural light is part of it. It's also artificial light in some ways. So I think architecture is not, if we don't understand that architecture is a holistic practice and everything is interacting with everything at the same time, and we don't be open to that interaction and try to understand that we do not control the interaction, but we are part of that interaction, and we can move some things to make things happen, okay? This type of work that are so complex, that are part of the market, of real estate market, wouldn't happen in our hands, you know. So I think that is maybe the best answer I can give there, but it's quite complex in some way, because what you want to hear is to be more specific, or to open more decisions, you know, or more spaces of decisions. But I don't want to do it in one singular place, because what I want to give to the auditorium is the idea that if you want to interact with this type of works, you should be an expert in all the parts of this decision making. So, for instance, all these projects, they all have a budget, and they have to fix to the budget. And even more crazy, which is our economy is a mess, you know, and we have to deal with different economies through the process. So you have to change things in the middle. So that's why we don't stay fixed to the original design. What we make is we are very rigorous with our documents, details, drawings, etc. And the documents, we write a lot of documents to the building to be done, but then we understand that the contingency of the time can change what our original ideas in a little bit in some direction. So the after all is that you have to be pragmatic in some way, and you have to understand that new iterations that can change your original idea are new opportunities to improve what you do and to move forward with a better result from the very beginning.
Everyone, Sebastian and Dama, one more time.
Thank you.
So Sebastian had the great opportunity of closing us down on our last night. What a great word to leave us with, that iteration can take us further. So thank you again. Thank you for spending 18 hours in travel to get here to talk to us. So it really means a lot. We have one more event. It's Friday night. It's at the In Situ office. It's at 5:30. We will be displaying and presenting real-time salon-style all the students' work, and it'll be a celebration of this 2-week event that we put on every year. So we hope to see you there. But because this is the last night, I want to make sure that we do a little bit of roll call and recognize everybody that made this possible. So I'm going to forget, so I wrote it down somewhere. Got to fix the app. First of all, John, thank you for sponsoring tonight. Thank you for the store for hosting all of our folks over the last week and a half. Nothing but good words and great stories, so thank you for that. But I do want to clarify one remark. It's not just Matt and Zach. It is very much not that. So I want to make sure we include Alyssa, Kelly, Joelle. I'm scanning Fab somewhere. There we go. Thank you. And Jeremy right here in the back. So did I get everybody? Did I miss anyone? For God's sakes, did I miss anyone? Okay. That's the In Situ crew. We've been hiding, but we couldn't do it without everybody's help. It's a full team effort. Again, I told y'all every night, the students that came here that sacrificed the last 2 weeks of their summer, 2 weeks of paying internships to invest in our city. At this point, I'm going to ask you to stand and stay standing because we're going to roll call this entire list because this is ridiculous, and I want y'all to see how many folks are investing in our city and in conversations like this and in optimism. So, students, thank you. Please stand up and stay standing. All right, then we have co-sponsors Myriad in the back. We have Raleigh Architecture Company. If y'all can stand up, we're gonna do this and keep going. Mainland Creative, Hanbury for our studio sponsor, Activate North Carolina, Arrowhead, Catherine Hogan, Coda Home Builders, NC State School of Architecture, Ratio Design, Smith Synod Architecture. Hopefully y'all are standing because I'm having to read. The Store, Diversify Architecture, Evoke Studio, Jay Davis, Lysett & Associates, Perkins & Will, AIA Triangle, NC Noma, Nick Neptune, Hyatt House, Junction West, Union Hall, Women in Architecture, Clark Nexon, Perkins Eastman, Rue McNeil, Bundy Architecture, Cannon Architects, C.T. Wilson, Design Workshop, Duda Payne, Kane Realty, Morgan Structural, Maurer Architecture, Monarch Realty Company, Monteith Construction, New City Design Group, Reservoir Studio, Salas O'Brien, Stewart, Studio 310, Shawstack, Thoughtcraft Architects, and With Architecture. If we can get the biggest round of applause, look at this. This is most of the room. Thank you so much. This is a team effort. This is a city effort. We're really excited. See you Friday. Thank you all. Good night.